In the 1930s, when much of the United States was suffering from the Great Depression, farmers in western North Carolina were prospering. The region's improved agricultural economy was due in large part to the Farmers Federation and its founder, James McClure. The Illinois transplant drew on cooperative farming models of the late 19th century and the renewed commitment to Christian service of the social gospel movement of the early 20th century to create a unique farmer-owned business that bettered the economic and social lives of farm families in western North Carolina from 1920 to 1960. As a cooperative, the Farmers Federation sold supplies and equipment to its members at cheaper prices and used the power of its collective size to demand higher prices for its products, especially tobacco. By 1930, the Farmers Federation had more than 3,500 stockholders with 17 warehouses in 11 counties, 2 chicken hatcheries, 5 carrying houses for sweet potatoes, 7 mills that produced animal feed, a cannery with 152 employees, and a cooperative training school that educated young people in farming. By the 1940s, the Federation had warehouses throughout western North Carolina, stretching from Lenoir to Murphy. McClure, a successful businessman, and his wife Elizabeth came to Asheville on their honeymoon in 1916. Enamored with the region's beauty, the couple bought what is now Hickory Nut Gap Farm in East Buncombe County, with the intention to use it as a vacation home. He spent time renovating the couple's property as well as farming their land. McClure soon realized the difficulties the farmers in the area faced. Supplies and equipment in the region were limited and expensive, and the average farmer was spending much of his profits on seed and fertilizer for next year's crop. To alleviate these hardships, McClure created the Farmers Federation in 1920 as a cooperative enterprise. Among the benefits to the region's farming community, the Federation sold a variety of supplies and equipment at lower cost to its members, educated farmers on the newest farm techniques to increase yields and cultivate new types of agricultural products for new markets, and perhaps most significantly, it provided full-time and seasonal jobs for the farming community. McClure's vision for western North Carolina farmers was based on the progressive era ideas of both cooperative farming and the religious values of the social gospel movement. Between 1890 to 1920, progressives sought broad reform politically, economically, and socially, while social gospel morals emphasized Christ-like actions to help your neighbor. Historically, farming in western North Carolina was hard and often unpredictable because of the mountainous terrain of Appalachia. In 1959, Doug Reed, a writer for the Asheville Citizen, described western North Carolina in the year 1920, a quote, quagmire roads, rundown farms, scrawny cattle, lame horses, broken plows, and barefoot children, unquote. While it was true some were poor, many farmers challenged this stereotypical view, especially those who raised tobacco. During the 19th century, tobacco was the region's most profitable cash crop. However, price and production often fluctuated from a high in the 1870s to a low in 1900. For example, in 1880, the Asheville News and Observer wrote that one Buncombe County farmer made over $100 per acre on some sections of his tobacco crop after only spending $14.50 an acre to grow it. The farmer commented, "Let tobacco raisers everywhere think of this and come to western North Carolina with their experience and money and make fortunes." By the 1890s, however, farmers now faced an unexpected struggle. The demand for land to grow tobacco caused prices to drastically rise from an average of 75 cents per acre in 1880 to between $5 and $10 per acre in 1894. By this time, farmers sold tobacco at only 6 cents per pound compared to the 25 cents per pound in the booming 1880s. It was this kind of market uncertainty that McClure believed the Federation could help farmers navigate while increasing profits. McClure's ideas for the Farmers' Federation were based on earlier cooperative organizations in the 19th century. The earliest collective-styled prototype was the Rochdale Plan, which created the first consumer cooperative in Rochdale, England in 1844. The egalitarian plan was financed with each member's purchase of stock in the cooperative. As shareholders, members voted on all decisions that affected the cooperative. McClure embedded this idea of equality in the Farmers' Federation to ensure all members voted on business decisions, regardless of whether a farmer owned 1 share or 20 shares. This democratic structure attracted Western North Carolina farmers to join the Federation. Two important farming cooperative movements emerged in post-Civil War America. By the 1870s, the country's small business owners, manufacturers, and farmers faced a crisis caused by the market domination of large corporations, monopolies, and railroads. Farmers were victims of railroads that charged higher rates for transporting crops while giving big businesses large rebates. The national banking system also hurt farmers by limiting the amount of credit available to them. To take on the large railroad companies, the Grange, a cooperative farming enterprise, was established in the Midwest in 1867. It united rural farmers to fight these monopolistic practices by utilizing a strength in numbers model to lobby for federal legislation in 1877 that set rates railroads could charge. A year later, it again appealed to Congress for laws that would prevent unjust rates, discrimination, and other malpractices by the railroads. In the South, the Farmers Alliance emerged in the early 1870s and became the largest and most powerful farmer organization in the 19th century. Established in Lampasas County, Texas, the Farmers Alliance opened cooperative stores, banks, factories, and insurance companies to provide lower costs for farmers. It eventually absorbed smaller farmer cooperatives throughout the southern states. The Rochdale Plan, as well as the Progressive Era Grange and Farmers Alliance organizations, were important cooperative models for McClure's Farmers' Federation. McClure financed the Federation through membership and private funding. Farmers paid $50 for 1 share. Because initial memberships did not cover all startup costs, McClure successfully lobbied Asheville's wealthy elite to further fund the Federation. As one journalist pointed out in 1959, McClure's effectiveness at winning the pity and the purse of influential financiers was due in large part by his business acumen. Edwin Grove, who built the Grove Park Inn, made his fortune from producing and selling patent medicines. He invested thousands of dollars in the Federation and left the co-op $25,000 in his will. Grove believed in the purpose and value of the Farmers' Federation, saying, "I think it is a movement which will benefit the country more than anything that has been presented to my attention." Another important financial supporter, Edith Vanderbilt, wife of George Vanderbilt, donated money to McClure's Federation and partnered the Biltmore Dairy with his cooperative. McClure utilized family connections to the Quaker Oats Company to purchase feed at a fair price. He also raised upwards of $100,000 from investors in New York. By the late 1920s, the Farmers' Federation members reaped the benefits of its success. It opened a cannery in Hendersonville in 1927, which purchased the extra peaches, beans, apples, berries, and tomatoes farmers harvested. Farming families profited from the cannery because it provided seasonal work and extra income. The Federation sent trucks all over western North Carolina to purchase chickens that were taken to the co-op's poultry processing plant. By 1930, the Federation was buying over $480 worth of poultry and eggs from Western North Carolina farmers. Like the Rochdale Cooperative, the Federation also purchased supplies in bulk and sold them at cheaper prices than other retailers. Common supplies sold by the Federation included fertilizer, hay, flour, and coffee. To enhance the cooperative's community focus, the Federation published a monthly newspaper for its members that carried information such as upcoming events, the latest farm techniques, and what the co-op was selling that month. In the first issue of the Fairview Farmers News Sheet, McClure laid out the purpose and plans for the Federation and encouraged participation in his cooperative. He said, "The farmer has got to save himself, and what is more, he can do it. The only way the farmer can help himself is control the price of the stuff he produces, and until he does control it, he will never be safe." The newspaper also included a section called the House Page, which gave farming housewives advice from how to get stains out of clothes to new recipes that used whatever produce was in season. For example, an article in the January 1938 issue titled "Feeding the Family in the Winter" suggested that a simple dessert like fruit fritters after each dinner helped to make meals in the winter less monotonous. McClure based the Federation's monthly publication on national magazines like the Progressive Farmer, created in 1886 by Leonidas Polk, a farmer from Anson County, North Carolina. Published in Raleigh, the 8-page magazine addressed agriculture and all its problems. Like many progressive-era publications, the magazine advocated for a better life for farmers, including public education for rural whites and blacks, and women's right to vote. The magazine reached its peak circulation around 1960 with 1.4 million readers. This 1982 Progressive Farmer cover features my grandfather, Gary Herlocker, and my uncle, Wes Herlocker, who are both farmers from Stanley County, North Carolina. Building community was paramount for McClure, who understood the importance of religion to Western North Carolinians. He strongly believed the church should be the center of the community. He wanted farmers to be guided by the Protestant Christian values promoted by the social gospel movement of the late 19th and early 20th century. The movement's theology emphasized the gospel teachings of Jesus to do good works on earth and treat others like you would like to be treated. To foster these ideas, McClure created a religious department within the Federation, which was the only agricultural organization in the country to have a religious component at that time. McClure was a man of faith. From an early age, he received religious education from his father, who was a minister. He graduated from Yale University with a bachelor's degree and a divinity degree from McCormick Seminary in Chicago. He was ordained in the Presbyterian Church. McClure appointed his brother-in-law, Dumont Clark, as the director. His main task was to promote the Lord's Acre program, a religious initiative created in Bluffton, Georgia in 1922 by Reverend Henry Melton. The program was designed to keep churches solvent during the Great Depression by calling on church members to dedicate 1 or more acres of land to grow and sell crops specifically to raise money for their church, the preacher, and needy members of the congregation. McClure believed the Lord's Acre program would further strengthen the farming community and its ties with local churches. Many farmers sectioned off a piece of their land to grow and sell products to feed the hungry. Children were also involved. They raised livestock and donated the money from the sale of the animals to the church. When churches face economic hardship, the pastor often leaves and the church closes. The money raised helped pay preachers' salaries. The program raised greater awareness for the Federation. By the 1930s, churches in the area could count on the funding raised by the Lord's Acre program. Another way McClure built community were through gatherings for Federation members. One popular event was the family picnics it hosted, usually on the grounds of schools and courthouses. The picnics enhanced farmer solidarity and provided entertainment. In later years, more than 1,000 people participated. Members often showcased their musical talents. Individual players, church choirs and quartets, and other musical groups played the traditional Appalachian music that had been passed down from generation to generation. The Farmers Federation was successful throughout the 1940s, but by 1950 was starting to struggle financially. As the number of farms decreased, the Federation's local support began to diminish. The fast-paced economic and agricultural changes of Western North Carolina and the post-war move toward corporate farming made the Federation's purpose obsolete. It declined an offer to be bought by FCX, a large North Carolina cooperative, and was forced to file for bankruptcy in 1960. During the 1930s, when farmers in the Midwest and southern Great Plains were being driven off their land from catastrophic dust storms, farmers in western North Carolina were selling their tobacco crop at record amounts. From 1930 to 1941, farmers sold more than 38 million pounds of tobacco for a total profit of $7 million. James McClure, an Illinois businessman turned farmer, devoted his life to the Farmers Federation, which helped farmers by emphasizing progressive era ideas of cooperative farming and the social gospel message of the Golden Rule.